I sort of talk to everybody. We'll then take some questions here on 13. We'll then unmute you, and if you've got any questions that you want to ask, we'll be able to take them then. So I'm assuming that everybody can hear. Okay? All right. Right, I know what you're thinking. Good morning. You're thinking he's bloody sold the company again. So let's put that one to bed. I haven't. But over the last few months, I've been giving a whole question of how we work quite a bit of thought. One of the reasons we're supposedly in beachwear today, I mean, I noticed some of you wear peculiar things to the beach. but one of the reasons we're doing that is we want this place, I want this place to be a great place to work. But I also know that, you know, juggling life and juggling work can actually be quite tricky. And I was reading a whole series of research reports over the last year, which was talking about actually how much productivity you actually got in a company. And primarily a lot of that is because you've got other things to do, you have to do them at some time, and inevitably you do it often when you're at work. So we've decided to try something reasonably radical. And the radical thing is we're going to do a trial commencing from Monday the 5th of March, running through to Friday the 13th of April, so that's 6 weeks, where you will be working 4 days a week and you will be paid for 5. This is not about... Hey, it sounds great, doesn't it? Told you you'd like it. But this is an important pact between you and I. Because what I'm wanting to see is I'm wanting to see that productivity in this company doesn't go down. That actually, if anything, productivity goes up. Now, to do this, we don't frankly know how it works. You ought to have seen Christine's face when I suggested it. You know, because to make this happen, this is over to you. We're going to give you, department by department, branch by branch, the responsibility to work out how this works, how productivity stays up. Not everybody, of course, goes off on the same day. We've got to make sure that the customer service remains at the highest level, so there is no change to our normal working hours. I am not asking you to do 10 hours a day on a day when you're in. I'm not going to reduce pay. This is not actually about cutting staff. This is actually about a sensible conversation about how we work today. And that will open up a whole raft of other conversations about how we service our customers better. Now, I will be honest, we don't know how this is going to work. And at the end of it, we'll revert to the 5 days, normal working week. And what we'll then do is evaluate whether this worked or whether it didn't. If it works, we will continue it. But we may continue it on a team basis or a department basis, because it all actually depends on you. Now, I'm going to be honest, if you take the piss, we won't continue with this. That's the only thing I'm asking you to do. Take this seriously. Because if we work this out, we will continue with this in perpetuity. But we will need a chance, obviously, to evaluate it. Okay. I think this is about making this company, you know, the best company to work for in New Zealand. It's also about giving you the chance not just to be the best in this company, but the best you can be with your families and with the wider community. And I will give you a chance to do that as a consequence of that extra day a week. Is that fair? Okay. I'm happy to take some questions from the floor here in Auckland first, and then we'll go to the branches. Yes.
How are you evaluated?
We have no flipping idea. So the question was how we will evaluate it. Well, in some areas we can do that relatively easily. For example, we know an output of, shall we say, the number of documents we would get in a typical week. We do know the amount of profitability we make in the company in a given month. We do know in the branches, how much billable time we've actually got. So part of this is actually over to you guys. How are you going to demonstrate to me, to the leadership team, that productivity remains where it is, or better? Now, that's why it's a test. And that's why this is a conversation between us and you about how we do this better. That answer the question?
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, within the studies, what were the key sort of drivers to maintaining productivity or increasing productivity? Did it sort of mention how they went about it?
Yeah, so the question is, in the studies, what were the key drivers about maintaining and enhancing productivity?
Assuming that they took the day off.
Yeah, assume people took the day off. Nobody, I think, has done this way, right? So what we've done is other countries, you've probably seen, I think Virgin Money came out and said you can take as much leave as you like, provided you achieved your goals. The studies I was looking at were actually not that. The studies I was looking at was a study in Canada, Christine, I think, and a study in the UK. The Canadian one was positively frightening in that it suggested that in the particular firms that they were surveying, actual productive time in a day was less than 1.5 hours. The UK one was 28%, 20%, something like that. Again, horrifically low levels of productivity. Now, this is one of the big questions. How do we make this work? What's the temptation, for example, to come into the office and go, I'll just go and trade me for a bit, or other websites. So, do we, as part of this deal, say, look, actually, we'll restrict what you can serve? I don't know. We're not going to do that, by the way, in this trial. We're going to trust you. We're going to say, go on. We've got to be adult about this. How are we going to do this? There's a lot riding on it, clearly, for everybody here. Another question? Any more questions from here? Yeah. Now, we will, obviously, there's the leadership team's talked about it. We've got some briefing notes. There'll be things that will be going on the wire next week. Today. But it's really something that we need feedback on, that we're leaving it to you. You've got a month to plan this, how it's going to work. Okay? Right. Let's try. I'll just see if there's any questions from any of the branches. We're just unmuting you guys. All right. Any questions from the branches?
I don't think that worked. James.
No, I can't at the moment.
Participant lines unmuted.
Good. Right. Sorry. Any questions from the branches? Yeah. Okay, I will repeat the question for everybody else if you won't mind. So the question is, if I want to work the 5 days, can I work the 5 days? That's a fair, seriously, it's a fair question. And the answer is yes, you can. Absolutely. This is not compulsory, right? Now, some of you may want to work. People may want to do that. We'll have to work out what we do as a consequence of that. We haven't decided. Obviously, this is just a trial. I mean, we've actually picked a trial period where I think there's at least one public holiday, so the two of you won't need to feel, you know, 2 public holidays. So it's not quite as generous as it appears at first sight. You've got a couple of weeks where, you know, normal activity means you'll be able to get used to the 4-day week. But seriously, if you want to work the 5, you can, right? If that's the pace of work that you want to do, that's okay. All right, does that answer the question? No worries. Okay, any more questions from the branches? No? All right. Okay, well, I'm going to have to work on the assumption. We'll just check, obviously, whether everybody nationwide actually managed to get on the line. So we'll probably do that straight after this.
Andrew,
Yes?
just one more question.
Sure.
Aside from this being a great place to work, is this trial going to be published?
Yes.
Or it is? So
I'm
is it part of
giving-
a wider
No,
study?
it's not. I was giving this some thought this morning. So the question was, is this part of a wider study? It's going to be part of a wider study in that we are going to offer to make the results of this available to other employers, because I think this goes to the heart of a lot of things. It goes to the heart of equal opportunities, frankly. Those of you with families, you know, how do you actually do work-life balance? Does this make it easier? Is this a better way for companies to construct? It'll go to the heart of working flexibility, because ultimately, if we can manage to handle this, then we've got to start thinking about, for example, do we want to be opening late in some branches because we want to be giving opportunities for people to come in the evening? Maybe if they've got difficulty in, say, doing wills online, they want to come in, they want to ask some simple questions. So then we're really going to start thinking about a different way of, you know, what are the hours that people work? How do people want to work? Do they want to work in the evenings? God forbid, do they want to work weekends? What is it that we want to do? So this is really a start of that journey. But I think it's really important that, you know, the conventional ways of working don't really suit, in my view, you know, modern life. So we're going to give this a go. But that's really what it's about. So yes, we're going to share it, because I think it's a conversation that the whole of New Zealand needs to have about how it structures employment. And I should say, by the way, that no contract terms are broadly changing through this, because it's just a trial. Again, you know, normal contract terms apply. I won't try and go through it now. It's on the form about what happens if you're claiming leave and so on and so forth. But no, treat it for what it is. This is a trial. We're going to see if this works.
And just to mention about the focus groups and feedback survey, that sort of thing as well. So
Yeah, so there will be a sort of focus groups feedback surveys at the end of all of this, so we can do the evaluation. It will take us a while. I mean, in an ideal world, I would love to get to the end, and as we start the new financial year, I'd be able to say that we will do this permanently, but it may take us a little longer than that. Okay? So it's over to you guys. Make this work. We'll make this permanent. Okay?